We have the biggest game of the weekend, maybe the biggest game of the year here. And damn me if I'm going to be leaving this weekend not betting on this game. College football is back, and that means it is time to either ruin our weekends or thrive, depending on how teams that we honestly don't care about do over the weekend. Because it is time to predict and bet, make some fucking money on college football. So let's get into it. Now, before we really get into the meat of it, just two things. One, of course, gamble responsibly. This is supposed to be fun. This is a way to watch random games and enjoy it. Do not use important money. Don't use your bill money. Don't use your kids' lunch money. Don't use your rent money. Use money that you have available and that you're willing to lose. So have fun with it. But I will win for you guys. Two, all of my picks, all of my odds are made on DraftKings. I'm not sponsored by them. I have no affiliation with DraftKings. I just use them because, to be honest, FanDuel always logs me out and I have to reset my password. So fuck them. I'm using DraftKings. Those are their odds when I'm making these bets. That's the thing with gambling. Odds change. So I'm sorry if you don't get your odds. You can adjust it either to the same number for worse odds, or you can just roll with what they have based on my reasoning. You got to make your own decisions once in a while. And with college football back, what is the first thing we are going to do? We are going to have a Thursday night where we bet on the best conference in football. Now, we're not betting on the SEC Thursday. We're not betting on the Big Ten Thursday. MAC Nation. So we're starting off Wyoming at Akron. But don't get me wrong, this game is not going to be exciting to watch because we are betting the under at 48.5. Now, 48.5 is far from a big number. But you look at these two teams, Akron last year based off of PFF rankings, and I get PFF isn't the buy-in measure. I don't think they're God's gift to earth, but they are a good reference to look at how overall teams do. Akron was 93rd in offensive rating. Wyoming, 129th. So these teams could not score the football last year. Now, defensively, Wyoming was stellar, which we love to see at 31st. Akron was equally miserable on defense at 132nd. So that Akron's defense is a little sketchy if we're betting the under because, again, we don't want either of these teams to score. But with it being at home, I do think the Akron home crowd will give them enough juice to bump that defense enough to stop an equally bad Wyoming offense. Another thing that plays into our favor is the pace of play. Last year, Wyoming was 70th in plays per game, right? They're not hurrying up. They're not getting a lot of reps under them. They're grinding it. They're making it slow. Same with Akron, 103rd. So these teams don't want to run and gun. These teams don't want to air it out. They're going to take their time, which helps us immensely. And then last, it's the weather. We're in Ohio. The weather's shit. Winds of 10 to 20 throughout the evening, with chances of rain after the game starts. So if the wind picks up and we get a little rain, these teams are going to want to even throw the ball less. They're going to run the ball. They're going to stack the box on defense. We are not scoring many points this game. Wyoming, Akron, take the under. On to the second bet of the weekend. We are staying on Thursday, but we are moving down to the state of North Carolina, where we have ECU, East Carolina, visiting North Carolina State. A rematch of a bowl game last year. Now, Vegas thinks these two teams will be scoring a lot of points. The over-under is 61.5. I disagree. We are going to another under. I know that's disgusting. But week one, teams start slow. Offenses aren't in rhythm yet. It's easier to gel defenses than offenses. So we're going to go under 61.5 ECU at NC State. And here's why. Let's look at NC State last year. They were 62nd in the country in points per game. Very, very middle of the pack, especially for a Power 4 team. Their pace of play, bringing that back up from the last bet, a very important metric for over-unders. They were 118th in plays per game last year. One of the slowest moving teams in all of college football. They took their sweet old time getting down the field. Let's look at ECU, a team that was surprisingly very good on defense last year. ECU's defense was 26th in the country in takeaways. Their red zone defense was 13th, or the red zone percentage defense. So even if you were moving the ball down the field, they were actually very good at not letting you score points. And like I said just a minute ago, they take the ball away very well too. What about on the offensive side of the ball? Their quarterback has shown a lot of promise, but He led the FBS in 23 interceptions last year. This team, while they can move the ball, they will turn it over as well. And we are banking on that. A game where NC State maybe can't move the ball, East Carolina also can't move the ball, or they turn the ball over. Now, NC State's defense last year was a little underwhelming, but historically, they have been a very strong defensive unit. And they hit the portal really well to restock and revamp that team. So I think this coach wants to get back to its roots, to being a stellar defensive team for a ACC team. And we are going to go under 61.5 week 1 ECU at NC State. At bet number 3, we are going to Waco, Texas, where Baylor is hosting Auburn and they are underdogs at home. So that is why we are taking Baylor plus 2.5. To be honest, with this game, especially in Texas, this should be a pick'em. But I honestly think Baylor will win this game. So we're going to take the points, be a little safe, and hope Baylor can at least squeeze out a close game here. Last year on offense, Auburn was 53rd in the country, 25th on defense. So very good defensive unit, average offensive unit. Baylor on offense was 13th. They could score the ball with anyone. Defensive, they were middle of the pack, 44th. So I think we have a very even matchup, which is why I do think, like I said, this should be a pick'em. But Auburn has almost an entirely new offense. They brought in 2 new quarterbacks, one from Stanford and the guy from Oklahoma. They brought in a whole new receiving corps, which, don't get me wrong, the guys they brought in were very, very good. But still, new quarterback, new receiving room, new running back. They lost Jaquiz Hunter, their leading rusher from last year as well. Now, they do have pretty much all the returning offensive line. They still have a stout defense. This Auburn team isn't going to be weak, but I do think early on in the season, they're going to have some struggles meshing their offense around each other. And specifically in the red zone last year, they were 112th on offense and 95th on defense. They were terrible in the red zone. So as long as Baylor, a team that got really hot last year and ended on a 6-game win streak, with quarterback Sawyer Robinson really excelling his game and looking to be one of the better quarterbacks in all of football next year or this year, I think this Baylor team is ready to run. I think they ended last year on such a high note. Again, winning 6 straight up until their bowl loss versus LSU. This Baylor team is mad. They want to win the Big 12. They don't like that they're underdogs while at home versus a team that also didn't live with the expectations for most of the year last year. Baylor plus 2.5. Now we are going down to the heart of college football, Athens, Georgia. We got UGA hosting Marshall, and UGA is a massive favorites. But I don't really care about that. I care about the over-under being 55.5, where we will again hit another under. I know who wants to bet on all these unders. We want to bet on points being scored, touchdowns, but it's week 1. Take advantage of these teams starting slow. UGA has a very new offense. Gunnar Stockton's first start. They brought in some new receivers, a new running back room. I think they will start slow. Their offensive coordinator, I'm not saying he's bad, but he is the biggest question mark on this coaching staff. He does make some questionable calls once in a while, and they rank 105th in returning offensive talent. So basically, all of their guys that are legit starters or legit contributors are new to this team. Marshall, even though they were the Sun Belt champions, they are not going to be good this year. They lost their coach. 36 players entered the transfer portal from last year. Neither quarterback on their roster played a snap last year. This team got decimated. If you remember, they even dropped out of a bowl game because of how bad the transfer portal thing happened to them. This Marshall team is going to be one of the worst in the country. I'm going to take advantage of it early in the season. I just realized I misspelled Marshall when I typed this up, but who gives a shit, right? You just noticed it as I pointed it out. Anyways, another fun fact, Kirby Smart is 4-13 against the spread when laying 33 plus in non-conference games. Now, I'm not betting on the spread here, but what does that mean to me? That means when Georgia goes up against these non-conference teams that are not nearly as close to them, they don't run the ball. They don't run the score up. They're going to want to get some of the bench guys in, give their starters some rest. He's not going to run up the score. So, let's be honest. Is Marshall really going to score more than 10 points? Probably not. I don't think Georgia's going to score 45. Under 55.5. Smash it, lock it in. But let's finally get away from these unders. Let's go to an over, and it is a big one. FAU at Maryland, over 59.5. That's a huge number, but here's why we're going with it. Because of the defense, or lack of. Maryland last year was 105th in opponents' points per game. They were giving up over 30 points a game. FAU, 104th opponents' points per game, also over 30 points a game. What does 30 plus 30 equal? 60. Over 59.5. That's all you need to know. But I got more for you. FAU has a new defensive coordinator who has never even called plays. He takes over a unit that just has lack of talent. So not only is he inexperienced, not only is he going to be overwhelmed a little bit, but he doesn't even have the talent to help him out. Pace of play, Maryland was 7th in the country last year out of all of FBS. They want to push the ball. They want to air the ball out. They were one of the best passing teams in the country last year. Now they got some new players, so it's not going to be the exact same team, but they want to throw the ball. FAU, 59th, so not as good, but still not like they're in the triple digits. They want to throw the ball. They want to move the ball down the field. They're going to want to score some points as well. So that is our over of the weekend, FAU at Maryland. We have the biggest game of the weekend, maybe the biggest game of the year here. And damn me if I'm going to be leaving this weekend not betting on this game. We have Texas at Ohio State, 1 versus 3. The two teams favorited to go to the championship game. And listen, I know that obviously Ohio State being third means the polls think they're the third best team. But if you look at the Vegas odds, Ohio State is number 2, Texas is 1. This is the matchup of the potential championship game. Texas is going to Ohio State plus 2.5, and we're taking them at plus 2.5. Now listen, this game is very, very close. This is a tough game to bet on. And if you see anyone telling you one way or the other is an easy read, they automatically know what's going to happen. It's a no slam bet. Close your laptop, shut your phone off, fucking turn your TV off, whatever you got to do. They are lying to you. This game will be close. This game is very hard to bet on. And if you don't want to bet on it, I don't blame you. But like I said, I'll be damned if I leave this weekend not betting on the biggest game of the year. So if I have to pick one or the other, Texas plus 2.5 is the way I'm going to go. And here's why. Ohio State has 2 new coordinators. Their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator are both brand new. And listen, I'm not saying these guys don't know what they're doing, but coming in, working with a brand new team, that's tough. That's tough to adjust to right away. So I do think we're going to bank on the fact that they are a little unexperienced. Speaking of experience, both teams are actually very young. For being the 2 of the best teams in the country, they're actually very young and experienced. Both teams are talented as can be, but a lot of their guys left in the draft last year. So a lot of guys are going to step up this year, and they'll be great. Don't get me wrong. But it's harder to predict when you have so many new faces. Texas's defense is the best in the country. Their secondary, the defensive line, their linebackers, everything is good. Julian Sayin is an elite talent quarterback, but this is his first time playing. Ohio State's offensive line has a lot of question marks. I think that's the difference maker. Ohio State's wide receivers are unbelievable, but Texas's secondary will slow them down just enough for Texas's defensive line to get after Julian Sayin. And on the other side of the ball, Texas lost its top 5 pressure-inducing defensive players. Their front 7 was wiped clean. So I think there's enough mismatches on the front that Texas takes the game. We're taking them at plus 2.5. Now let's talk the parlay. Now, as you can see, this is listed kind of weird. And that's because this is not an official play. The first 6 picks I gave you are my official plays. But this parlay is not. And because, one, let's be honest, parlays are not a reasonable way to try and make money or to try to win bets, but they're a blast. So let's have some fun with it. So I don't make this an official play because, listen, if you don't want to risk an extra money, don't do it. So when I make a parlay, a lot of the times I take my next 4 or 5 bets that I like but don't love. These would be like my honorable mentions to like my first 6 picks. These are all bets that I almost wanted to take, but they were a little bit off. And I'll adjust them up to maybe around 250. Now, the reason I picked 250 is DraftKings for the longest time, and they might do it again this year. There's nothing on the site yet. They a lot of times do promos for odds boost on parlays as long as the leg is under minus 250. So I will take a bet. For example, USF at Boise State, it's plus 5.5. I think that's a little low. I would love it if it was like 6.5, 7, right? So I would take it and I would adjust it. Where in that range you adjust it is up to you. Sometimes I'll do it just a little above the original bet. Sometimes I'll do it all the way up to, again, around minus 250. Those are the 5 games I'm putting in my parlay. I'm taking USF plus anywhere from 5.5 to 11.5. Ohio plus 15.5 to 21.5. Southern Missouri at plus 12.5 up to 19.5. Clemson minus 3.5, or I might flip them into a plus 2.5 underdog. And then UNC plus 3.5 up to 9.5. Again, wherever you want to go in this range is up to you. I tend to lean towards the safer side because, again, this is 5 legs. That's risky already. So, not an official pick, but this is my parlay. Mix and match how you want, remove teams if you want, adjust as much as you want. But this is something that I like to do, something that I wanted to give to you guys on how I do it on a weekly basis.